Hey you guys, welcome back. Thanks for clicking on the video. In this video, it's kind of going to be like a follow-up to the first two videos I posted about psychology, spirituality. How I kind of have to live in two minds. I was discussing that in those first two videos. Spirituality versus psychology, spirituality versus science, how those two things can really bang heads sometimes. And all of the theories within, whether you're dealing, whatever perspective you're coming from in life, it can affect your whole entire perspective in life, can be different depending on which side of your brain you're using, right brain, left brain. I was talking about that as well. The more practical, left brain, is the more practical, logical, orderly side of the brain and controls all of that, whereas the right brain side is going to be more intuitive, more creative, and I'm always pulled by that side a little bit more than my more disciplined and practical side. But most people, when in my psych class a few years back, and we were given these little tests, they say most people use both pretty equally, in a pretty well balanced way, not too overboard to either degree. But then again, there are people that, yes, use one side of their brain more than others. They're more drawn to, their personality is more that way. And I'm one of those people that is a bit more drawn to the creative, intuitive, and that will override sometimes logic, reason, order for me. I really kind of have to stop and think about things, critical thinking. But for the most part, I like to be able to discern whatever situation I'm in or confronted with in life. I will decide what's best, what I need to pull from to really determine what is the best decision, what is the best and most accurate judgment, what I need to do in any given situation. Whether I need to use my more intuitive information, my spiritual downloads, spirit guides, whatever that is, or whether I need to use more critical thinking and logic at that time. Be more practical, okay? And I try to keep those pretty well balanced, okay? But I don't ever rule out all that other stuff, and a lot of people do. There are a lot of people that will completely shut that spiritual shit down. They will judge you. They will discredit you and write you off as a flake. You have to be kind of careful these days what you mention, what you bring up. I don't ever try to convert anyone to anything. I am not religious. I don't have one single certain practice I follow. I've never been much of a follower or a joiner. I do respect all the teachings in the world. I have a lot of great mentors, and I like to take in all information and filter it through my own processes, and I'm really a law unto myself. At the end of the day, it's going to be whatever the hell resonates with me, whatever goes through my higher intuition and all of that processing for what's best for me. So anyway, this is kind of going to build on to that discussion of me having to live in sort of two minds and use those things. But what I'm going to get into is kind of where I left off. I brought up the twin flame theory, the twin flame journey. In a lot of spiritual communities, we hear of this twin flame or soulmate, and there are a lot of people that don't really, I can't say that I believe 100% in any given thing on this earth, in any given teaching, but I'm generally going to pull what I want from those things, and then I'm going to run it through my logic and reason and critical thinking, and then I'm going to run it through my intuition and my higher self and what resonates with me most, and I'm going to come up with what I feel, what works for me, and that's okay. But there are things in the world that are based on, yes, fact, evidence, whatever, what have you, and we have to go with that. But I left off talking about the twin flame journey, and I want to get more into it in this video because, again, it drives me crazy when people go to extremes, and I feel like human beings are so desperate for answers. It's almost sickening. I've been one of them. I used to be highly codependent because of how I grew up in abuse and trauma and mixed messages and programming. I've had to work on codependency issues all of my life, more external locus of control than internal. But then at the same time, I often was introverted and creative, and I kind of had a mixed personality there. Okay, but what I'm saying is I see a lot of human beings that are so extreme. It's all over the internet. It's like you got all kinds of things going on these days, guys, and really you just have to find, honestly, what resonates for you. I don't care. You'll go across the internet and you'll see a team of people that do not agree at all and they think it's bogus. And then you'll see another set of people that's their everyday life. They believe very firmly in that. And then you have people right in the middle that might believe it a little and might not. Okay, I think I land somewhere right in the middle of those things. A lot of the twin flame theory, I understand and it resonates with me, certain aspects of it. But I also have a deeper understanding of it that's more than just falling all over oneself in love with somebody and putting up with horrible things and staying stuck in a toxic trauma bond and all that crap. I just feel like it doesn't have to be that extreme, okay? I see one spiritual community like, oh, you know, if you'll just work through it, your twin flame will come back and this, that, and the other. And they're a little too caught up in waiting on their twin flame to come back. They're a little too caught up in this is the other half of my soul. They're a little too caught up in what do I need to do to make my lover like me. That would not be anywhere near what a twin flame journey is actually about. And I have heard thousands of theories. I really have, from many different teachers, mentors, and I had to come up with what resonated with me best. For a long time, I didn't give two shits about, I don't care. I don't care about twin flames. I don't care about soul mates. It wasn't until I really started noticing, you know, as I got older, that my life is a deeply spiritual life. It always really has been since I was a kid, growing up in abuse, having a lot of emotional issues to overcome, being highly and psychically tuned as a child. I've always had a lot of spiritual work to do, and after my marriage, which was really good, but I was really young, and my children, that was a good relationship. It wasn't really what I would call toxic. But after that, I attracted a lot of toxic people. I attracted a lot of lessons. And I kind of knew throughout my lifetime, I always had something in the back of my mind that was willing to choose. I won't say that I was the best at choosing myself before a toxic relationship, because a lot of times I threw myself under the bus. I had a lot of work to do. But what I'm saying is there was always something in the back of my mind that was willing to choose the work over the person and go ahead and get rid of that eventually. A lot of times I would allow myself to walk through a lot of shit, either just giving them time, giving them a chance. A lot of people thought, you know, I was blinded and too stuck in a trauma bond, maybe early on, but a lot of times I was doing it deliberately. I was fully aware of what I was involved in, but I was gaining wisdom. I was learning things about that person's mind. I was learning things about their disposition, their personality, how they tick, other things, learning to love people, learning why they can or can't love. I am like that. Sometimes I will continue walking through situations that others may just give up on, because I'm learning. I'm taking in all kinds of insight, knowledge, and wisdom that I can turn around later in life and teach, or it gives me a better understanding of things. So anyway, guys, my videos, as I always let y'all know, are for educational purposes only, just spreading awareness. I can't be responsible really for what happens outside the video, just sharing personal experiences and my thoughts. All right, let's get into this. Why is everybody so extreme about twin flame? It has to be one or the other. You know, and I'm not saying the whole world's like that. I see all kinds of theories. I see, you know, a lot of times people that have healed from a bad relationship where they may have thought it was a twin flame, and they'll run way over to the other extreme and go, that's crap. Anybody who thinks that such a thing exists, that's just garbage. They're just dumb. Okay, that's a little too extreme. Because for me personally, we don't know. Okay, that's kind of where I stand with things. I guess I might be called agnostic. I'm highly spiritual, and I really get tuned into a lot of my spiritual gifts and blessings, and I really gravitate towards that way. But I also have my critical thinking, and if you think you're going to take advantage of me, or you think just because I'm spiritual and I'm talking about otherworldly concepts that you're going to fucking take advantage of me or bring harm to me, you better freaking think again, because I'm going to snap right in. Don't think I don't see what's going on. Don't think I don't use my critical thinking and I'm just sitting here naive and stupid. And so a lot of times people tend to think of you that way when you are more spiritual and you talk about things like that, and you have a lot of empathy about you, and you sense things, and that also makes you extremely compassionate towards others. But I have a balance with that shit. I can be just as fierce when I need to be, and that's a good thing. Protect that stuff. All right, but let's get into it. A lot of times people are just way too extreme about the twin flame theory. And here's what I personally feel about it. After years of studying and taking in different mentors and having different experiences in relationships. Well, number one, it's like this. The way I understand it, the whole twin flame thing, not every relationship you're going to be in your life is going to be a twin flame, if at all. To me, I've from what I've gathered, it's a very rare thing anyway. And when it does happen, it's not the other half of your soul. It's not this flowery thing that people think it is, okay? That, oh, we're on some special mission together, and I have to put up with all this crap. We're going to drive each other. You know, there's fine lines here, okay? I kind of go back and forth in my own mind about it, and I have my own theories about it, and that's okay. If you have yours, there's no one. I don't care how serious they are about their studies or how scientific those studies are or what they've come up with in their group or what it is. I don't care. What resonates most with you is what it is. And nobody else in the damn world can tell you it's not. Okay? But I am going to tell you, be careful. Okay? Because there are misleading things out there. Always use the other side of your mind and balance it out. Always use your critical thinking and your logic as well when dealing with any type of romantic situation that may seem off to you, or definitely if it seems abusive, if it's making you uncomfortable or feel unsafe. Always use reason with that, okay? Balance that shit out. Don't get caught up in some little soulmate twin flame cloud and then go researching and find all the research that's out there to back that up to support what you want to hear. Don't do that, because there's plenty out there that will support the dreamy, flowery, just keep hanging on, they'll get better, you're meant to be. If if that's what you're looking for, and you tune out all the other logic and reason, and you're in denial that you're in a toxic relationship and they're fucking mistreating you, then that's what you're going to hear. And you're not going to be able to really straighten it out and do what's best for yourself and see the reality of it, whether you're twin flames or not. All right. So from what I've learned, it's not anything to do with, it's not as much to do with two people coming together and staying together forever. In fact, a biggest portion of the time they don't. They don't. A lot of times these people, okay, I'll have to give a little more context. Okay, so first off, I've established not everyone in the world has a twin flame. Now, there are a lot of different spiritual communities that say they do, but what I'm saying is not everyone incarnated on planet Earth right now is going to have a twin flame type of relationship. To me, like I said, I didn't even give two shits about that. I've always been very spiritual and really been wanting to work on myself. But yeah, I did have those tendencies like any girl towards love and dreaminess and meant to be-ness and all that kind of crap too. But I don't think everybody incarnated on planet Earth is meant to be on the twin flame journey. I do think that typically there are a lot of people that are coupled up right now that are not twin flames. They could give a shit less about twin flames. They don't study about it. They don't ask about it. They don't care about it. They don't know. They're happy. They live their life. They get along with one another. I personally think it generally tends to happen to people who are on highly spiritual paths in this incarnation. And there are a lot of people that are not, and they don't have all that damn work to do with someone else, male or female. There are different types of mates in this world. There are different types of souls that we can encounter, especially if we are on a highly spiritual path and we're here doing a lot of spiritual work. I don't think everybody incarnates for the same reasons. Now, I talk like this on a daily basis. That's part of my own spirituality. It sounds perfectly normal to me. It may not to you, and that's okay. I don't think everyone incarnates for the same damn reasons. I think we all have different lessons to learn here. We all have different things to go through. And a part of me thinks that we may choose our lifetimes. We may choose what lessons, what families. Now, I'm just saying it's food for thought. I'm not saying I necessarily 100% believe it. I'm just saying it's food for thought. We choose what dilemmas we're going to go into in certain lifetimes. And a part of me also thinks that we may incarnate in soul groups. I don't know if it was Edgar Cayce, whose work was that discussed soul groups that could possibly incarnate up to 100 to 200 people, souls at a time, that incarnate in the exact same time. And at some point in the lifetime, they will all play a part in the lives of each other, running across each other's path in that lifetime. It's very interesting stuff to me, and I'll always gravitate towards stuff like that. But I will say this, I'm also not just going to sit here and float away on a fluffy cloud when I'm put in a situation where I need to use my damn critical thinking and logic right then, and I need to handle some shit. That's what I'm saying. So let's balance that out and get that shit straight right now. All right. I don't think everyone on this earth is here for the same reason. I don't think everyone gives a shit about spirituality and may not be working on some of the hardcore spiritual issues that another person may need to overcome. Therefore, they may need to attract in a certain type of counterpart. The twin flame journey, okay? I think some people set themselves up for that prior to this lifetime. And I'm still studying it. A lot of it's over my head. I'm still understanding it. It's fascinating to me. The dimensions of consciousness, the ascension process. I've understood that pretty well for years, but also Oversoul, okay? There is a really good book called The Education of Oversoul 7. I've had the book for a very long time. I've got a neat story behind that book. But it's about one soul that is over 7 other souls, I believe it is. And it's complicated. When I first ran across it, it was a little too sci-fi for me. And I thought, it's neat how this book kept coming into my life. I feel like books come to us. Books choose us, not the other way around. That's just another part of my spiritual thinking. But again, I've lived with narcissists before that tried to use that to their advantage, thinking it's a fucking weakness, and they got chopped on it. Don't try to play me just because I think that way, because I can snap that down just like that and say, I don't give a shit. I've had somebody so abusive psychologically, and I'm still having to heal from that. So you'll notice while I'm talking in my videos, a lot of times I'll stop and almost have to over-explain every point. It's because I'm used to being psychologically abused and gaslighted by a covert narcissist. That tries to use every little thing to twist, turn, manipulate, and change the narrative from the way it was intended. Okay. So, yeah, I believe the story of The Education of Oversoul 7, it's a good book. It's also online. I believe they have it on audio. I didn't get to read the entire hard copy, but I know the story. I've listened to the audio. And basically, yes, this one soul is over a bunch of different souls. And when those other souls need help, that oversoul can come in and out of all of them and help them with whatever dilemmas they're going through. And they're all kind of part of one soul, but they are unique souls at the same time, living in different dimensions. I know, it gets out there. It all gets out there, but I'm very interested in stuff like that. And I'm one of those people that I don't care. I don't care what science says. I don't care what we can prove this far. We don't know. That's it. We only know up to a certain point. So for the people that say it's not existent or it can't happen or that couldn't be true, I say you don't know that for sure, 100%. Just like I don't know 100% that it is true or that it could be. So I say it's all interesting food for thought. Now, back to the twin flame and how people get so extreme about it. I think human beings are so desperate all the time for answers. And that very grasping, that very desperation, that's what's going to keep us from the right partner for us. A partner who is on the right frequency, okay? So let me get on with it. I personally feel like some of us are here to work on very deeply spiritual things that have to do with us basically finding ourselves, basically aligning with our higher selves. And for our lifetime, it's not as much about living happily ever after with a mate. I know from my lifetime, I don't believe it's going to be. Because married twice, divorced twice when I was very young. I've had kids. I dated so much. I mean, I've just had so much in my life. I had 2 or 3 really serious relationships. And then I had went a long number of years on my own. I've kind of covered all the bases, finding self, learning from relationships, all this stuff. Then I had another 6-year, very profound, but very toxic relationship. And these things just haven't worked out for me. And at the end of all of it, I was always confronted with the choice that the work was more important to me, the spiritual work. And if they weren't going to stay or grow with me, and we couldn't be on the same frequency together, that it was going to have to end. And I would go alone and continue my work of self, of spiritual growth, emotional growth, until that partner with the right frequency is attracted to me and vice versa. And I just couldn't believe that it took me all those years. I'm in my 40s now. And I thought long ago that, I was beyond all of that. I thought I had done enough work, that I wouldn't get involved in situations like that anymore. But because of my wiring, my unhealed wounds that were so ingrained and so subconsciously deep that even I thought I was beyond them, I wasn't. And I was still getting involved in trauma bonds, codependencies, things were being triggered. And whether I wanted to believe that was a twin flame or not, the point to it all was for us to let go of each other and likely never come back to each other. It was very toxic, okay? But at the same time, we brought each other to the triggers that were needed for healing. We brought each other to the point, and I'll get into that relationship a little bit later on about what that was supposed to be about, what the whole twin flame thing is to me, But anyway, so the oversoul concept is interesting. I'm still learning about it. Also, Pete Sapper, I believe he has a new channel. It's called Be High Value. Fantastic teacher. I've learned a lot from his work. And he has talked about the oversoul before. And he also has talked about the twin flame theory before. And I kind of resonate with similar to what he has taught in the past. That we are our own twin. That is the longing. That is what we're really longing for, okay? Now, I know we come here to Earth, we mate up, we reproduce, we have these drives, these sexual instincts, and that's the way we're biologically wired, okay? But we have also evolved as humans, spiritually, emotionally. We are ascending and ascending. The collective is ascending into higher levels of consciousness. And a lot of us are leaving behind those archaic, that aren't necessary anymore, primal drives and doing things for the reasons that we used to made up and that we used to need. We're coming more into our own. We are ascending into a higher consciousness and working on self-actualization really merging with our higher selves. And Pete used to teach about completing our Dharma. And I'm still working on understanding that fully. But that resonates with me. That it's not necessarily about clinging to another person external from ourselves that's going to complete us. And if we don't have them, we're nothing. We'll just die. That's codependency. And so where the twin flame thing factors in, a lot of people get really extreme about it. You know, either that's my undying love and my twin and they complete me and it's all about them coming back to me, or I don't believe in twin flames, that's bullshit. I don't think it has to be that extreme. I do feel like perhaps there are significant people, if you are on a highly spiritual journey in your own life and you've been doing a lot of work on self, either since you were a child, you've had a lot to overcome emotionally, a lot of hardcore spiritual lessons, and you attract people like that. I feel like, yes, we can attract certain people to us, and we might be one of those people that's on this earth that's on a twin flame journey, that is going to encounter such a person at some point in time. To me, hell, maybe more than one. There will be significant mentors, good and bad. There will be mentors, teachers will appear in your life if you are on a highly spiritual path. I have been most of my life. I've had a lot of different types of people come in and out of my life, bad and good, and I've learned from all of them. I've gained wisdom from all of them. Some I have loved more than others. Some I have profoundly connected with more than others, okay? But that's what I'm saying. I don't think the twin flame theory has to be so extreme. I don't think it's delusionally off the chain as far as love ever after. Not necessarily. But I do think certain ones of us, yes, attract certain people into our lives with certain similar issues. In a way, I think it's planned before incarnation here. That perhaps, well, these are your issues, these are mine, these are the things I'm choosing to overcome in this life, and I'm going to come in at this certain point and help you out, and this, and this is going to happen. And I know a lot of people would be pissed off at that and say, that's fucking stupid, that's bogus. But sometimes I think about things like these. I think they're neat theories. We're going to get together at this certain age after you've been married and I've been married, and this, and this is going to take place, and we are going to have a strong love for each other. We have a strong love for each other because we're part of the same oversoul or same group of souls, perhaps. It's just food for thought. And I feel like perhaps in other realms, it is a very profound and connected love that we cannot always have here in the third dimension with ego, pride, envy, greed, all the battles that we fight here, addiction, all that crap, okay? But I feel like perhaps those types of agreements go on, karmic contracts. There's just all kinds of interesting spiritual concepts. And certain people attract to our life, and it might be that it works out that they stay, but a great deal of the time, they are there to trigger up certain things in us, get that shit to the surface. The work that needs to be done gets done. I know a lot of us would like to believe that they are meant to be there forever, or that they'll come back one day if we just do this, this, and this. But basically what it's about, they are there to help you trigger up a lot of those wounds. And I know a lot of people say, well, we shouldn't have to walk through toxic abuse to get our wounds triggered so that we can heal. Well, I don't make the laws. I don't write the universal laws. I don't control energy. I didn't say it. I didn't create it. It just is. It just happens sometimes, and unfortunately, but it's the way it is. And so I feel like basically that deep twin flame love that you might attract and feel if you are on a twin flame journey. It's not necessarily about getting with someone and staying with them happily ever after. But it's about a higher connection. They will trigger you to want to work on yourself, okay? And that's, to me, what it's about. And I knew in the middle of my last relationship, which was very profound to me, I love that person very deeply, I knew we weren't going to be able to stay together forever. I knew it, and it hurt, and I didn't want to face it for a long time, but I knew what it was all about. This person was still in a very low vibrational energy, still highly addicted, still had not healed so much of their trauma, and I knew what it was about. We both had to be willing to back off. He was very highly codependent, couldn't survive without a woman giving him his self-esteem and giving him all of those things. And I too was triggered into my codependency, but I had worked on mine a lot more than him, and I was willing to do more work and he wasn't. I knew that for the two of us, what it was about, the only way we would ever make it as a couple, and it would actually turn out beautifully, is if we would back off of each other, even though it hurts to back off. Back off. Don't worry about what they're doing. Don't worry about attracting them back. Ooh, and that's a painful place to get to. It's about going apart after you've gotten that toxic. Because yes, in the twin flame theory, those two people that come together, toxic issues will come up. This particular person will trigger up so much of that nasty garbage in you because it needs to come up for healing. Things that you really do need to look at to free yourself from, okay? But in most of the theories, the only way the two can work out and stay together in harmony is if they back off of each other, okay? To me, it's not true love. If you can't do without me, then you don't love me. If you are obsessed with me, then you don't love me. If you're clinging to my leg, and you can't do without me 5 minutes, you don't love me. You're neurotic, you're codependent, and you're using me. That is not real love. Real love can go away. They could go across oceans of time. They could be happy in their own identity. They could walk away from each other and, yes, miss each other in their heart and long for each other, but yet still know, I've got work to do, or I've got to go on a trip, or they can spend time apart and go apart, and they just know they're on the highest frequency, or they're working their way towards it. They're working in their emotional intelligence and their emotional maturity, and they want to do what's best, not only for themselves first, but also for their counterpart. They will take this initiative, and they know, well, if I work on myself and I don't sit here and obsess over my counterpart, working on me and becoming the highest version of myself, my self-love, my self-respect, my dreams, my goals, my power, and I don't walk around feeling terrible about myself all the time and I just need my lover or I won't survive, I'm nothing. That energy, you can forget it. It's going to repel all of that. It's going to repel love. It's going to be the most toxic of love, the most obsessive of love. True love can do without each other. And it's always there. It doesn't flinch. They can be happy working or studying or doing what they do, missing you in their heart, but also full of love for themselves. They're not so lacking that they have to have you every second. That is true love. That is healthy love and friendship. And all of these toxic, needy, clinging to each other, obsessing over each other every day, I know it is so